overwhelmingly peaceful. Although at the city's airport, police used pepper spray.
Say these pigs have got to go!
And in Charlotte, North Carolina, there were several arrests. There remains widespread confusion at many airports about whether, for example, dual citizens from the 7 predominantly Muslim nations are also banned from entering the US. This Iraqi-American man is just one of hundreds left distraught.
I'm working hard here, I'm building a house for the people, the American people, and I'm American too.
Administration officials may be under international pressure, but they're calling the measure a great success and say it was Trump's predecessor who set the tone.
This is meant to protect our borders and protect us from terrorism. The fact is that it was President Obama and the Congress who identified these 7 countries. So President Trump is just following on.
And this is the protection of the nation.
Donald Trump signed the executive order on Friday evening during a visit to the Pentagon. And this morning he is blaming others for the disruption, tweeting a short time ago, only 109 people out of 325,000 were detained and held for questioning. Big problems at airports were caused by Delta computer outage, protesters, and the tears of Senator Schumer. That was a mocking reference to the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, who wept at a press conference yesterday.
This executive order was mean-spirited and un-American.
As activists vow to continue their protests, the courts will soon be weighing in on whether this travel ban is unconstitutional. Well, it appears that those who hold green cards from those 7 targeted countries will be allowed to enter the United States, but there's still real confusion about whether, for example, students who are at college here or indeed dual citizens from those 7 will be allowed into the United States. There's also unanswered the question of whether this travel ban might be extended to countries like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. But the bigger picture, I think, is this. It's not about administration. It's not about disruption. It's about the reputational damage being done to the United States.
Robert, thank you very much. Well, a series of demonstrations against Donald Trump's travel bans are planned here in the UK this evening. One is in Leeds. Our correspondent Damon Green is there now. Damon, what's the reaction been like from people there, and what do they feel about the state visit?
Well, Leeds is a city with a substantial Muslim population, and they are wondering with curiosity what is going to be the consequence of Donald Trump's presidency. Now, Lasad is the general manager of the Leeds Grand Mosque. What have worshippers been saying to you? What are their fears about what's going on?
I've had some people from Iraq and from Libya stating that even with their British passport, they're not feeling comfortable going to travel, and they cannot travel even to the US.
Would you be comfortable with Donald Trump being welcomed as the head of state in this country? What message does that send out?
As a state visit, I'm not comfortable. Rolling the carpet for him, it's like endorsing this order, this executive order he signed, and we want more like robust and strong leadership.
Well, Rusta, you've been a businessman in this city for 27 years. You came here from Gaza. You've been happy here. What is the consequence, do you think, of Donald Trump coming to this country as head of state?
I don't want really to feel the security and the safety I found in this society by encouraging the extremists and right wings for hating Muslims or hating refugees or hating anybody.
Oliver, sorry, Christian, you're organising a protest tonight against Donald Trump. Yeah. What is the point you're trying to make here in Leeds?
We're going to try and we're organising a protest to show solidarity with Muslim people, both in America, both in Britain, here in Leeds as well, to show solidarity with inspiring protests around the world, particularly in America, against Trump, and to basically say, yes, Donald Trump is not welcome in Britain. We're a multicultural society. Refugees, migrants are welcome in Leeds and welcome in Britain. Donald Trump is not welcome here at all. We're going to organise a mass protest in Leeds, across the country, against him.
Well, that's the message from Leeds, and whether it's copied in other cities in the country, we'll have to wait and see this evening.
Okay, Damon, thanks very much. So should Britain retract its invitation to Donald Trump for a full state visit? Well, on your screens right now, you can see the current tally of signatures. And with me in the studio, economist Owen Jones, who arranged tonight's protests, and Conservative MP James Cartledge, who believes cancelling the visit would be a mistake. Thank you both for joining us. I'll start with you, James. Why do you think it would be a mistake?
Well, first of all, I do recognise the anger of those who signed this petition. They are horrified at a policy that goes against many values that we all hold dear in this country. But there are two key reasons why I would not cancel the state visit. Firstly, because I think our priority should be to try and influence this White House administration, and we would undermine that influence by retracting an invitation we've already made. Yeah. Secondly, I think if you look at the big picture, our main threat as a country is still from Russian aggression, and Putin wants a divided West, and he would be happy if we cancelled that visit. Well,
I mean, Owen, you were completely on the other side of this, but the reality of it is we have invited leaders here before for state visits where we don't necessarily share their views, especially regarding human rights. We had President Xi back in 2015, for example. We also had Narendra Modi back in 2015.
Well, I led protests against the Saudi state visit a few years ago, so I think we should judge each case on that in terms of whether they commit human rights abuses. Look, let's be clear. Your government, your Prime Minister, is weak, weak, weak. And this is an attempt by this government to turn Britain into the lapdog of a woman-hating, pussy-grabbing, immigrant-hating, crypto-fascist in the White House.
Well, we'll apologise first of all for using the B word, because it is a daytime programme, so we do have to understand that as well.
Let's be clear what we're up against. Because what Theresa May is doing, we're not going to get anything back from a president who says America first. She doesn't have to give a state visit to a man. Let's be clear. Bill Clinton didn't get a state visit till 2.5 years. George Bush Sr. didn't get any state visit whatsoever. This is a strategic attempt to make us a stooge, a proxy of Donald Trump's horrendous government.
James, is that something that you would agree with? Because I know that a lot of people were quite surprised at Theresa May's initial reactions on Saturday during that press conference when she was asked about the ban. Are you disappointed with her reaction so far?
Not at all. In terms of being weak, I think it's a very strong thing to remain calm in these critical moments as a Prime Minister. That's one of the best characteristics Theresa May has. We have got to react to this in a calm and steady way. UK foreign policy cannot proceed on the basis of knee-jerk reactions, even if people, even if people are frustrated and angry.
But
the British national interest is best served. But the British national interest is served by a strong relationship with the country, with the strongest country in the world.
This isn't knee-jerk. This is a president now which has barred tens of millions of people, including the citizens, your constituents probably amongst them. The idea that when British citizens, as far as we're, and it's unclear...
I don't think that James is disagreeing with that, and I think what he's saying is the reaction to it.
I'm saying, well, look, I don't think the whole point is the Prime Minister has failed in her duty as the representative of this country, as someone who represents constituents who are now barred from entering the United States because of who they are, because of where they were born.
What I'm saying is that that's something that James does agree with. What he's saying is it's the reaction to it. Should someone be allowed here for a state visit?
That's exactly the point I'm making. The idea we're rewarding someone within what is a huge honour, a state visit, whilst he's barring our own citizens from entering their country because of where they're born, is disgraceful.
The petition is not saying don't allow him into the country. The petition is not saying don't allow him into the country. They're saying don't have a state visit because it would embarrass Her Majesty
and number 10 are now claiming they didn't invite him to a state visit. It was the Foreign Office.
I do understand your passion. I really do. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for. So, Owen and James, thank you both for coming in. Well, there's lots more in this story online, including a blog from our correspondent Penny Marshall on her experience when she arrived at Detroit Airport. 2 men have been arrested in Quebec after 6 people were shot dead at a mosque last night. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has condemned the attack as an act of terrorism. 8 other people were injured when gunmen opened fire during evening prayers. Sally Biddulph reports.
Sunday night prayers at a mosque in Quebec City, interrupted and halted by a gun attack. 6 people were killed and at least 8 others injured, some of them critically. Police swarmed the area and some were seen entering the Islamic Cultural Centre in what is being treated as an act of terrorism. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau strongly condemned the attack and tweeted, "It is heart-wrenching to see such senseless violence. Diversity is our strength, and religious tolerance is a value that we as Canadians hold dear." The attack at the very heart of the Muslim community has shocked Canadians across the country.
We were hoping that because of the fact that we're such an open and peaceful society, this would make us immune from violence that we see around the world. And obviously this is not the case, but we are still a society where quality of life and peace and safety is way better than elsewhere.
2 men have been arrested, one at the scene and one nearby. For now, neither their identities nor their motives have been revealed. Sally Biddulph, ITV News.
Next, Prime Minister Theresa May is in Cardiff this lunchtime for Brexit talks with the UK's devolved governments. It's the first time she and the Joint Ministerial Committee have met outside of London. Mrs May says it's part of her commitment to get a Brexit that works for everyone, considering Scotland and Northern Ireland opposed the English and Welsh vote to leave the EU. Our correspondent Rupert Evelyn has been at the meeting and joins us now. Rupert, what are the leaders hoping to achieve?
Well, they're aiming, I think, to try and reconcile some of their differences, and that is much, much easier said than done, because in reality the devolved nations are a long way away from where they would like to be in terms of agreeing with Theresa May. If you take, for example, here in Wales, the Welsh First Minister would like Wales to remain part of the single market. Obviously, the Scottish First Minister would like a similar thing as well, and Theresa May has made it clear that that is not going to happen. So, although they may have congenially got round a table inside City Hall today, the reality is they're a long, long way apart in terms of their political differences. The Welsh First Minister said that he doesn't feel that they are irreconcilable differences, but Theresa May, although she has chaired this meeting today, she frankly doesn't have to listen to what the Welsh nations, what the devolved nations have actually had to say. In one sense, this is a giant talking shop in which they discuss stuff, but it is very unclear in that talking shop whether Theresa May is buying anything that the devolved nations are trying to sell her.
OK, Rupert, thanks very much. MPs are on a mission to stop fake news, which they say is threatening our democracy. The Culture, Media and Sport Committee is launching an inquiry into sources of fake news and how it spreads online. They're worried it's undermining confidence in the media and could affect political debates. Non-league football club Sutton United are waiting to see who they'll be facing in the 5th round of the FA Cup after their historic win over Leeds United at the weekend. This was the moment their captain Jamie Collins scored a penalty in the second half, which sealed a 1-0 victory for the lowest ranked side in the competition. It triggered a pitch invasion from hundreds of celebrating supporters. Well, our reporter Amy Lewis has spent the morning at the club's South London ground and sent us this.
Well, the Sutton United players are going to be talking about this for the rest of their lives. They have managed to beat a side who were 83 league positions above them. Now, many of the Leeds United players will earn thousands of pounds a week, but the Sutton United players are non-league semi-professionals, which means many of them have other jobs, a second job to help them pay their bills. Jamie Collins, for example, the captain, is also a part-time builder. Now, so far, the cup run has earned the club around £400,000. That's the same as the club's annual player budget, and it doesn't take long to see where the money will come in handy. The roof here, for starters, is leaking, and earlier on I chatted to Bruce Elliott, who is the chairman of Sutton United, and he said the money will come in very handy indeed.
Just one of those very, very special days that everybody who was here will remember forever. There's a lot of jobs at this club. You know, it's quite old in its structure, and we keep getting all sorts of little problems crop up, and maybe this cup run will take the pressure off a little bit and enable us to get some of those jobs that never normally get to the top of the list of priorities to do, but will now get done, and make the place a more comfortable place and welcoming place for people to visit.
The club find out tonight who they're going to be facing in the next round. They're hoping for one of the big 4 clubs, including Manchester United or Chelsea. That will earn the club hundreds of thousands of pounds more. If they do go through to the quarter-finals, they will be the first post-war club outside of the top 4 divisions to do so.
Finally, each year the WellChild Awards recognise the bravery of seriously ill children. They're the young people who bring inspiration through hardship and smiles despite pain. Well, nominations for this year's awards opens today, and we'll have details on how you can get involved in just a moment. But first, Sajal Karia on one of last year's winners.
14-year-old Emily Wright is almost blind. Playing the saxophone is just one of the many things she's taken up since losing most of her sight, the result of a rare brain tumour.
I had cancer when I was about 8, and then I lost lots of vision. At the moment, the only effect that it has is my loss of sight, so I've got no vision in my left eye and tunnel vision up to about ½ a metre in my right eye.
But she hasn't let that stop her from living life to the full. From water skiing to snow skiing, from football goalie to triathlete, and not forgetting a charity fundraiser.
I do clubs pretty much every day of the week, so triathlon club and saxophone, and I do volunteering at my local guide unit and things like that, and I enjoy keeping myself busy.
An inspiring teenager recognised for being so by Prince Harry when he presented her with a WellChild award last year. It came as no surprise to those who know her.
She is incredibly positive. She just finds a way around everything. And I think that probably is Emily's philosophy, just to get on and do as much as she can.
Despite facing huge challenges, Emily's lust for life endures despite the odds. Sejal Karia, ITV News.
Well, if you know a worthy winner, just like Emily, who you think deserves a WellChild award, then you can nominate them via our website. That's at itv.com/news. Right, before we go, a reminder of our top story. As Donald Trump stands firm on the US travel ban, there are increased calls for Theresa May to stop his state visit to the UK. Well, a petition calling for it to be cancelled has now passed 1.2 million signatures, as you can see there on the screen. Well, that's it this lunchtime. I'm sure Mary Nightingale will have more on that when she's back with the ITV Evening News at 6:30. The news where you are follows the national weather, but from everyone here on the Lunchtime team, goodbye.